Welcome back to Finish First Financially. I'm Goran Radanovic. I've got a Reddit post that I'm going to read and I'll give my take on it. Obviously, not financial investment advice. It says, if the economy goes into recession, is it better to have zero debt or $10,000 in cash? I'm about to settle a car accident and get about $11,000. I have about $9,500 in debt. If the economy tanks further, wouldn't it be better to hold on to the 10K and let my credit get effed? Or would you advise to pay the debt and then deal with maybe being laid off? Basically, if you are unemployed, would you rather have $10,000 in cash or zero debt? And that's actually a very good question. And it's surprising as to what route most people take. I'm going to tell you what I did. So when I lost everything and became literally homeless, I didn't have any savings, didn't have an income, and I had $40,000 of debt. Then once I got a job and I started earning some money, I still had all of this debt to pay off, but I didn't want to go back to the street. I didn't want to be in a position again where my income stops and I've got no savings. What's going to happen in that situation? I'm going to go back to square one and maybe the streets again. And to avoid that from happening, the first thing I worked on was building my safety nets. That was extremely important because of that situation that I'd already been in. So I got burnt and I didn't want to get burnt again. So I learned from my mistake. And the three most expenses that I saved up for were housing, utilities, and food. Those three expenses are absolutely crucial for survival. And I saved up for those three while still making minimum payments on debt and making arrangements with my creditors, just so that I could get to a point where I had enough savings so that in case my income stopped, I wouldn't be in trouble. See, what happens when you've got savings for situations where you get laid off, where your income stops, is that savings enables you to buy time to replace your lost income. So in every situation, whether it's financial or whatever it is that you're doing in life, you have to prioritize. And in this situation, you absolutely have to prioritize. So let's say you pay off your debt and you now no longer have the savings and your income does stop. You get laid off or something else happens like you mentioned. What then? What does it mean to you that you now no longer have debt, but you don't have money to buy food? You don't have money to pay rent and you could be evicted. You don't have money to pay your mortgage and your house could be foreclosed on. It doesn't make sense to be debt-free but not have money for basic necessities. You're not going to feel better about being debt-free when you're hungry or when you're about to be evicted. So that's why you have to prioritize. Now, obviously, you want to pay off your debt. It's not a case of, well, I'm just going to focus on my savings and never pay off my debt. Obviously, you want to. But in a case where your income stops and let's say you didn't have the savings, then what's it going to help with you having a high credit score? If that happens, your debtors can wait 2 weeks or 2 months to be paid again. You can make arrangements with them. But if you don't have any savings and you don't have any income, can you wait 2 weeks to not eat? Can you wait 2 months not to pay rent? It's that dire. And this is the situation that you really need to put yourself in. And I'm glad that you're thinking about this because it's a very good question. And a lot of people would just choose to, in this situation, something similar, to pay off their debts and then have no savings and then risk being in a very tough position. It's easy to talk about this when you have an income and you decide, well, I'm going to be a good person and I'm just going to pay off all of my debts and then see what's going to happen. Well, if you choose that path and then it does happen that you no longer have your income, you could be regretting that decision. Now, obviously, as I said, you want to pay off your debt, but the most important thing is to have those savings in case something like this does happen where you get laid off or you lose your income for in whatever way. But you can make arrangements with creditors as long as they see that you are serious about paying off your debt. Then they will work with you. They want their money and you want to pay them off, as long as they see that you have the intention of paying them off. But obviously that money is your financial safety net. And then while you're busy working, you're paying off your debts as well. And if the income stops, you've got that safety net. You've bought that time to replace your income, because if you don't have that safety net and you stop receiving an income, first of all, you're going to be in a lot of stress and you're going to fumble and you're going to make probably even more financial mistakes. But what's going to happen is that some job is going to come along the way that's not really to your liking, and you're going to accept it, and you're going to get into probably even a worse situation. But so at least you have that time with the savings. Obviously, as soon as your income stops, you want to start looking for another job. You're not going to wait for your savings to run out and then look for another job. But it's just nice to have that time, to have that peace of mind for even just a little periods until you're able to replace your income. So that's what I did that's a similar situation. And it's obviously up to you what you want to decide. This is a very good question. And like I said, prioritize. That's the most important thing in life. I wish you all the best. If you want to learn more about saving money, building a financial safety net, getting out of debt, so you can invest in your future, check out my book, From Homeless to Debtless with Savings. I'll put a link in the description box below the video. Thanks for watching. Until next time.